Ahoy there, mates. Welcome aboard to VHS Pirate Ship. You know, I spend an awful lot of time talking about movies and VHS and the like, but I'm also a pretty big fan of video games. So that being the case, you would think I would be a huge fan of movie-based video games. Well, you shouldn't think that because nobody is. Yes, just like movies based on video games always suck, video games based on movies always suck as well. Well, for the most part. And by for the most part, I mean 97.5%. Yeah, video games based on movies never really seem to work out very well. For the most part, they're all just very bad and shouldn't have been made. Like, did anyone really ever ask for a Wizard of Oz video game? Especially this one, which is famously horrible. If you're gonna have a Wizard of Oz video game, don't make it a side-scroller. It should be an RPG. And did we really need a Hudson Hawk video game? Yeah, I don't think we did. Then, of course, there's the conundrum of video games that are based on movies that aren't bad, they're just odd choices. And odd from a marketing point of view. Even though it's never really been specified, video games have always been marketed to kids. Yeah, I know, adults would play them too, but kids have always seemed to be the primary demographic. And that has most certainly always been the general consensus. So when you make a video game based on a movie like, I don't know, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, people are gonna have a problem with it. And when Wizard Video Games released this in 1983 for the Atari 2600, people indeed had a problem with it. There was a major stink caused by this game, so much so that the marketing for it was directly affected. Meaning that basically there was no marketing for it. You couldn't advertise it, you had to hide it behind the counter, and customers had to ask for it if they knew to ask. So obviously this didn't sell very well, and that being the case, they didn't make very many of them, making this very rare today. So what was all the big hubbub about this game? Well, check it out. Check out this goriness, this monstrosity of a game that your kids should never play. Yeah, this was it. As you can see, not really much to it. Certainly no gore. Yes, we have no gore today, but the concept of butchering people with a chainsaw for points was enough to upset quite a lot of people. And Wizard Video Games wasn't done pissing people off in '83 because they also released Halloween. And this game would have the same fate that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game did because the marketing just didn't exist. Yeah, the same thing happened here. No advertising, but this one is a little different than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre because there is gore in this. Well, so to speak. I mean, look at that. That is pretty graphic for Atari 2600. And one doesn't typically associate arterial spurting with Atari 2600. So the general public believed that video games were made for kids, but game manufacturers did not get that memo. To be fair, like I said earlier, adults play video games too, especially back then. And I'm sure they would have wanted to play a video game based on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Halloween. What were they supposed to do? Play Atari's shitty version of Pac-Man until the end of time? Now, video games based on horror movies would certainly be a trend that would continue throughout the history of home consoles. Most notable being Friday the 13th for the Nintendo Entertainment System, which also caused a bit of a controversy when it was released, basically because it was just too shitty. Well, shitty in the fact that it was just too confusing and hard to play. And that's really just because of the map system is just so stupid. But if you just sit down and try to figure this game out, you will have a pretty good time, and people have started to come around to liking this game. And of course, A Nightmare on Elm Street would also have a Nintendo Entertainment System video game. And this really isn't all that bad either. It was a straight-up action platformer and one of the first games for the Nintendo that was 4-player. You know, it really is weird when you think about it to make a video game based on a horror movie, especially at the time of the release of these two games. Yeah, in the late 80s to the mid-90s, there really was no question as to who video games were marketed towards. They were totally for kids, and to have video games based on Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, it's a little strange. And Nintendo would have other odd movie-based video games, not horror movies, just odd movies to make into video games. Like, why is there a video game based on Platoon? Platoon. Have you seen that movie? It did not need a video game, and it has to be the only Oliver Stone film that has a video game. Hell, you might as well make Born on the 4th of July a video game. Why not? Well, that about does it. I just wanted to share a few things. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Take care out there, and I'll see you next time, only on Captain Adam's VHS Pirate Ship.
Check out more adventures right here on Captain Adam's VHS Pirate Ship, and please hit like and subscribe.